Hello and welcome to the Route 1 show here, live streaming on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. We're here to talk all things Leeds United. I'm Stephen Browne and I'm delighted to say joining me as ever is Jayson Booker. Jayson, how are we doing, mate?
No, very well, mate. Very well, thank you. How are you? You all good?
Good. Yeah, good, thank you. I mean, as good as you can be after last night's result, but there we go.
Mixed bag, innit? Mixed bag of emotions.
Yeah, 100%. And we're going to be chatting all things Leeds, like I say. So we're going to be dealing with the Southampton result at the weekend. We're going to be previewing Chelsea. We're going to be talking a little bit about how Javier Gracia is getting on so far in the job. But we're going to have to start, because it's fresh in the mind, the Fulham game last night, Jayson. Let me get what were your overall thoughts before we get into the nitty-gritty, mate?
Before or after? It's after the game.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can start. Going into it, actually, what were you hoping? I mean, were you in the mindset of the FA Cup is not important, doesn't matter about the FA Cup this year, or were you in the camp of actually this is a really nice distraction from another grueling Premier League campaign?
It's funny because, previously to being in the Premier League, I would always say I was in that camp. Like, get out at Cup. Promotion's more important, concentrate on getting playoffs or concentrate on finishing top two, because I don't think when you're in the Championship you ever really believe that you can win a cup, because there's just so many other better teams that are going to probably at some point knock you out. I felt very differently about it this year, and because we had a very favourable kind of run to the fifth round, it kind of felt like it was an opportunity for us to get to at least maybe a semi. And given how difficult the season's been, I think it's a good distraction and was good kind of momentum for us, especially under Gracia, to build on. So I can't help but come out of yesterday feeling a bit flat about it, to be honest. I was disappointed, and even more disappointed given the fact that we played quite well. Not perfectly, not brilliantly, and there were times of the game where we really lost control of it, but before both goals, it was there for us. They made a lot of changes. They're a good side. They've got some good players, but they made some big changes as well. There weren't a lot of fans there yesterday. In the home end, there were massive gaps, and I just felt like it were an opportunity for us that we kind of missed.
Yeah, 100%. I do agree with that. I mean, going into the game, do you know what? Actually, I was getting really excited for it during the day. I was like, oh, this is nice to be like getting somewhere in a cup competition, and you start thinking quarter-final, and then after that it's a Wembley appearance, and you're thinking, could this actually be, because it did have a different vibe about it this year, especially with the comeback against Cardiff. In that first leg, we evened it up and then got through that. I thought, you never know. And the way it started off, you could see that shape that Leeds had, and I just thought, defensively we look good, even though it's a makeshift defense, Rasmus, etc. And then obviously disallowed goal, which it just so infuriating. I mean, let's start there. I mean, that's kind of the first major flashpoint. Should it have been allowed, that goal?
I mean, I'm guessing we're going to go over the tactical kind of play separately. Okay. So, for me, the goal was one of them that you're screaming for either way. I think if that would have been, if the shoe would have been on the other foot and we'd have conceded that goal, would have been screaming for a foul on one of those players. But I think Wilson just makes it so obvious that he's diving. Like, it's beyond arms. If you compare it to the Bamford no penalty that we didn't get, was it last week or week before? I can't remember which game it were in there. It was less of a foul than that, and the referee was so quick to blow up and give a foul against Weston McKennie for no more than a brush, really. Wilson's going one way, a little bit of momentum, kind of a little handoff, which you see in every aerial duel for me. So no, I don't think it's a foul, but like I say, I think I'm screaming for it if it goes the other way. It's a good goal that really should stand. And it's a different game, isn't it?
Yeah, and it would have been lovely to get Rutter off the mark as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Just in terms of how Leeds set up, so we're kind of looking at the tactical side, what did you think of the shape? What kind of stood out for you?
It's night and day to under Marsh already. We saw a bit of that kind of progression under Scabala, where he just, kind of were looking for maybe a bit more of a low to mid block. And then that's changed again. We saw it at the weekend with how that structurally we set up, and then again today. You can just see a mile off that there's a defensive structure and a plan, and it looks like normal football, if that makes sense. It just looks like normal football instead of this kind of, I don't know, maybe some managers nowadays, including Marsh, is just trying to make it too jazzy, too funky. Sexy, I don't know, but yeah, it just looks like a normal defensive structure. And yesterday, we lost the game and we missed loads of chances, which has been a bit of a hallmark of us for 3 years, really. Maybe even far back as the Championship. We still needed way too many chances to score. But yesterday we were beaten by 2 wonder goals. And there were errors in the build up to certainly the first one, which were avoidable. But even then, to whip that in the way that Palhinha did, you're not going to concede goals like that very often. They're going to come once in a blue moon. We didn't concede goals like we were doing under Jesse Marsh when dominating games, whipped to the back post on one counter attack from his own corner. We're not conceding them. We're not even conceding them chances. So for me, I don't think you can be anything other than happy with what we've seen from a tactical point of view. There were massive pressure on Saturday's game. We've built on, we got the win. We got it over the line. We got a clean sheet, which was, I think, the 5th of the season, which is insane that we've only had 5. We've then built it onto a performance yesterday against a really, really good side. You could see in parts of that game that Fulham were quality. They had some real quality with the way that they strung play together, and defensively overall they were strong. But we still should have, if we'd have been a bit more clinical, we still should have scored 2 or 3 of his own.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And it really is, when you look at both teams, it's the tale of 2 sides this season, isn't it, really? You've got one team massively underperforming XG. I know a lot of people don't like the XG stuff, but you've got one team, Leeds, who, if they'd have matched their XG, we'd have scored so many more goals this season. In the last 2 games, our XG has been really positive. And then you're against Fulham, who are overperforming their XG. You look at last night, I think they had 0.20 XG and they've scored 2 goals. I mean, it's just, and it was hard to take last night. I really found it difficult to digest, because I just thought we had been miles the better team, really. We looked so threatening. The defensive shape looks good. Straight away, I agree with you. I think it's like night and day from what you were seeing with under Marsh. There's no kamikaze defending. It's such a relief not to be conceding those big chances. It used to happen every game. Opposition will get so many big chances against Leeds, and
they weren't even having to work it, Browne. They weren't even having to do anything special to score against us.
No, exactly. And then they pull out 2 worldies and knock us out of the cup, and I just thought, man, that's just not fair. That is not fair. You're not allowed to do that.
There's 2 words that kind of came to my mind after kind of concluding and reviewing the game. One of them's composure and the other one is technique. And we don't have that many technically gifted players. I would probably class Sinistera, Rodrigo and Nonto, and 2 of them are not available for us right now. We have got quality in some of his other players, but the way that Brendan Aronson struck that ball yesterday, no composure, no technique. Tyler Adams did it from the edge of the box. Jorginho had a couple of moments where he's clearly got the ability and he's doing some good things, but the composure just wasn't there for him to strike through the ball cleanly. It's because they're really wanting to do it. Even the goal that was scored at the weekend, third post technique, we're looking really to have that go in. But that was the 2 kind of points that I thought at the end of that game. And you look at the technique and the composure that both of them players, that Palhinha and Solomon, put into both them goals.
Yeah,
it's night and day away from what we're putting out there right now. And I think, we go back to the Jesse Marsh kind of argument, and people were saying, well, the tactic weren't set up to, the tactic's not responsible for the mistakes and for missing loads of chances. To a point, that's correct. But overall, we're still seeing hallmarks of some of the way that we were set up to play for the last year, in that everything is rushed. And you can tell that Grassi is trying to change that, but it's going to take time.
Yeah, that's one thing I thought. It was like there's still the DNA of what's been bred into these players, a certain extent under Bielsa as well, the fact the pressing and that kind of thing, and certainly under Marsh, and that composure is a real issue. I mean, there's a few times, I mean, we saw it against Southampton as well. I mean, McKennie was guilty of this, and Rutter also, which blew my mind, was the through ball is on, just overhitting the through ball, simple passes. McKennie, golden opportunity, I think, to put Rutter or Somerville through, overhits that through ball, chance gone. Rocker, who, is arguably our best passer in the team, or, you think should be the best passer in the team, overhits a simple through ball to Rutter. And you're pulling your hair out going, come on. And you do wonder, is it they've been so drilled in this kind of frantic, manic play that actually now to kind of rewind from that, is it just going to take a few weeks? I mean, is it?
This is the frustration with
players.
Well, this is the frustration with waiting to make this change, because we've been left with less games for a manager that can bring that composure, which clearly Gracia can, and can bring a versatile tactic and structure and idea to changing formations in game, and even at the start of games. Today, first time we set up in the 4-3-3. Yesterday. The frustration is that we've only left him with 14 games to implement it properly. I mean, Weston McKennie, man. Like, I see a lot of people say that he had a great game yesterday, and then I see a lot of people say that he had an awful game yesterday. And in many ways, they're both right. Like, I've never seen as a technically gifted player on the ball be so poor at passing. Like, for a midfielder, you have to be able to have a passing range, and I don't get it. I don't understand. He picks the ball up and looks to dribble, and he's got an unbelievable technique of using his body
balance
He slows him down and then goes again. Like, he's unbelievably good on the ball for a centre midfielder, but then his passing range and his ability is just woeful. And I thought all three of them were poor yesterday. I don't think there were any of the midfield three that had a good game, including Tyler Adams. I think there might even be a case to say that Tyler needs a rest. He's played a lot of football, and I don't know whether he's still mobile, he's still getting around the pitch, but his decision making and his passing accuracy has just been awful, to be honest.
Just before we get into that specifically, I do want to say, if you're watching a video, if you could give us a like, that would be much appreciated. Also, subscribe as well if you're not subscribing also. And get your comments in as well. What did you think of the Fulham game? What do you think about Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie? What's your opinion, guys? Let us know. So big talking point, and it was something I was gonna raise you about. It's the first time we've seen that midfield three. I'd been waiting for it, clamoring for it. I couldn't wait to see Rocker, McKennie, Adams in there together. And I mean, there was a point at 2-0 where they completely lost it, the three of them. They did. They really just, their heads were gone. And I'm looking at them going, guys, you're not teenagers. You're not even early 20s. You're mid-20s. Like, keep it together. Yeah. Keep it together. We need that midfield to work for us. If we've got a chance of surviving here, we've got that midfield. Those three players got to stand up and do it. And don't get me wrong, Tyler Adams has been absolutely superb. For me, player of the year so far. I know people are saying about Nonto, but if you look at how many games Tyler's been in, my concern with Tyler is, and I've always defended him a little bit, I think the lack of being able to distribute the ball has been a bit of a stick to beat him with, and I've not always agreed with it. I've seen him be comfortable passing the ball, but he was dreadful last night. He was absolutely dreadful, and I do wonder if there is an argument that maybe he does need a rest. I think possibly it might just be a cumulative fatigue building up, like you say. He runs around like a maniac. The other concern as well is a Tyler Adams the type of player to fit in a Gracia team that's a little bit slower and a little bit kind of more patient? Is he the type of player that can get on the ball and give you that distribution and play in that calm way, or does it have to be 900 miles an hour? I mean, that's the only thing. It's almost like when Phillips was in there under Marsh, suddenly under a different manager, they don't look the same, or the instructions change and it doesn't click. I mean,
I wondered whether there were a potential for him filling in at right back. And I mean, I know we've got two right back options, and I know Luke's been playing all right recently and whatnot, but he has played at right back quite heavily for Leipzig, actually. could he fit in there and be of a more useful option to us? But I don't see him not playing in the centre of midfield for the rest of this season.
Why didn't it work with those three in midfield as well? I mean, I don't want to say it didn't work. I mean, obviously, because we did largely. It was strange. We had less possession, but I felt we were in control.
Yeah.
Why did it not click as much as we thought?
I don't know whether it didn't as much as if the game had played out exactly the same and we'd have ended up winning 2-0 and they had not scored 2 wonder goals, we wouldn't be asking that question.
No.
Because I think for large parts of the game, we boss just on the performance alone, take the result out of it. The performance alone for large parts was really, really good. They protected the back four well. The back four themselves played particularly well, I thought, overall. There were a couple of moments, but overall I thought they played well. I didn't mind the link-up play with into Jorginho. I thought he had a pretty good game. I thought more could have come from the wings. There were moments where they got involved, but I didn't think Nonto had a great game. No. Overall, it was just that passing, and it was simply poor passing. It was nothing to do with tactics that brought down the performance of the midfield three yesterday. I didn't think it was sloppy 5-yard passes that turned over the ball and allowed Fulham to get in. But with the exception of the 2 goals, I don't remember Fulham really having a great chance.
No,
not really.
Nothing. The XG says it as well. They didn't. It wasn't. We weren't getting peppered, were we?
No, Harrison Reed had a long range effort, and I can't really remember too much else. Mitrovic had the goal that was ruled out offside, but it was a long way offside, so you can't really factor that in as a chance. So that then it kind of says the team played well overall and controlled the game overall. So I wouldn't be ruling out that midfield three. I think it's the strongest potential going forward. The problem is we've not got that 10. We've not got a proper Pablo Hernandez, number 10, that's going to unlock the door and find the killer pass. And then we look limp in front of goal. I know Nonto were bringing a few goals for us, a few weeks ago, but I can't say with confidence who's going to score us the goals at the moment. That's where the real problem comes from.
Andy, thank you so much for your comment, mate. He says it's going to take time for Rocker, McKennie and Adams to gel. They played well in spells, but I agree, passing was poor. Yeah, absolutely. Andy, can't argue with that. What is Rocker's role in this, though? Because, I mean, he's meant to be the pass master. He's meant to be the guy with the key to unlock the door. He's not a dribbler. He's not Hernandez, but... No. For me, I thought he was meant to be the guy who can deliver the pass.
I've defended Rocker quite a lot. Like a lot of fans have not quite seen his full ability, and I've always been a big defender that when a manager plays to his strengths, we'll see the best of him. Now we don't know how much, how fit he was yesterday. He obviously had a few games off. Fitting into a 3 and a new tactic, new manager, and all the rest of it. So I still think we need to give him time, but I think he's the deep lying playmaker, almost Calvin Phillips without the hustle bustle and the tackling abilities that Calvin maybe had. I think he's the man that can find the 60-yard passes to the wings and start the attacks. Tyler and McKennie and Weston McKennie kind of need to give him the ball and let him do that bit. It's just not always that easy to find. Yeah, the system has to work for it to operate properly, doesn't it? And I think we're seeing the best of Junior with him as the option, and we're seeing, on the other side, I think the fullbacks are able to play more like proper wing backs now, or they will be able to long term. So I see him as that deep line playmaker. If it's a 4-3-3 with Weston a little bit further up, but you're still going to have that position in front of him into the 10 space where he's not going to be able to unlock them passes. No. That's more a fully kind of confident, mature Brendan Aronson. That's how I think he will be long term. And I did think he had a good cameo again yesterday, but he's just not fully ready to do that role in the Premier League yet, I don't think.
No, and it's amazing what you mentioned about Aronson and when he snatched at that shot, and you watch that goal that he scored in the under-21s the other week, and it's relaxed, isn't it? Because it's under 21s.
No pressure.
And he finishes aplomb. We saw him in pre-season do the same. But when it comes to the match game, we've just got very few players who seem to be able to do it. Just the final thing on the McKennie-Adams thing, I saw this earlier today. I think it was in the Yorkshire Evening Post. It might be Joe Donahue. And this was kind of where I was kind of going with it earlier. He basically said Adams and McKennie's strengths are quite considerable for a team designed to play dynamic transitional football. But if Gracia intends to adopt a possession-based system, the pair's on-ball weaknesses will be a limiting factor. I mean, do you agree with that?
So it sounds, yeah, especially for Tyler, because I think Weston McKennie has got real ability on the ball. It's his passing range that would worry me. But if you if you build him into a ball carrier, box-to-box midfielder, arriving in the box late, arriving in for headers, I think you can get a lot out of Weston McKennie in that kind of role. Tyler Adams, I think, is really limited for his passing range. I mean, he sprayed a good pass on Saturday to Harrison. Was it in the build-up to the goal?
Yeah.
No. It was before the goal, I think.
Something, wasn't it? Yeah.
So he has got it in his locker, but it's not his strength. His strength is a destroyer, somebody to win the ball back, break up play, and he's still good at that. He was good at it yesterday. There were loads of opportunities and moments where he did that. But yeah, I think he may struggle to fit into a Gracia system in the way that he will want it to be played long term. So I don't know what that means for him. I think right now we're in a short term. What matters is short term, and he's going to play, and so we should. We haven't got a better option, regardless of whether he's right or not. It's just whether you go with the 2 in there or a 3 in there, and how you then get the best out of him. You almost be better just saying, look, Tyler, you just sit right in front of the back 4, let the wingers go on and do their bit. You create a back 3 when the ball is in transition, when we're going forward. Let Weston McKennie and Mark Rocker do their thing in the midfield. You just sit there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I take that on point, definitely. LUFC 11, I would start with Rutter on Saturday. I can't be dealing with Bamford air shots anymore in the Prem. LUFC 11, thank you very much for your comment. And I've got to say, I do agree. And we're going to have a little debate a little bit later on the show about Rutter versus Bamford going forward in the season there. Elsewhere on the pitch then, Jason, just to kind of cover off last night, Rasmus at centre-back. Interesting news, wasn't it? Some game time and, obviously resting Verber, I think, was a smart move.
Definitely.
I don't want to be unfair, but he's very limited, isn't he? He's such a, technically his confidence isn't there, but, just when the way he moves on the ball, it's just awkward.
I saw Verber rock his shoulder on Saturday after obviously having an issue the game before. So it was clear that he was going in there. I reckon he's dislocated his shoulder. I don't know if you've ever dislocated your shoulder. I did it playing football. And you can pop it back in. Within a few days, it's manageable for pain and tolerance. But when you're going into a 50-50, into a shoulder, going up for a header, it'll be an agony in every single time. So I'm willing to bet he's probably playing injured. He probably needs some sort of rest or an operation on it, and he'll do it at the end of the season, is my feeling. So great shout to rest him. No need to play him yesterday if he is managing an injury. I was happier seeing Ayling at right back and Christensen at centre back than the other way around. I don't like Ayling at centre back at all.
No.
And I think given Christensen's limitations, to almost have him at centre back is actually less of a risk than having them the other way around, because I don't like Ayling at centre-back at all. He gets caught constantly out of position, trying to catch offside. I just don't think he's very good at it. So I didn't mind it. And I don't think Christensen played bad yesterday. There were a moment where he blocked the cross and read it really, really well, slid in and managed to intercept it, which would have been a big chance for Fulham. He passing out from the back was his biggest problem. He gave it away 2 or 3 times, especially the second half. But yeah, I just don't think he's very good. I think that's the long and short of it with him. I just don't think he's very good. Yeah,
I hate it because we've said it, haven't we? The guy looks incredible. He looks like an absolute beast.
I was excited for him. I thought it was a great signing. We'd got ahead of Dortmund. We'd got ahead of Brentford that wanted him. And I just don't think he's very good.
Unbelievable, isn't
he
it?
He scored 10 goals and 10 assists in the Austrian league, which kind of made him stand out on paper. The funny thing with scouting sometimes is when you go to a game, you can see a certain thing on 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 or 5 occasions. But the facts are is that you might not have seen what you actually needed to see to decide whether it was right for the Premier League or not. And when you bring in players from these kind of leagues, it's a risk because the standard is just so different.
Sorry.
Go.
No, did it strike you as a kind of Jesse Marsch wanting to get an extra kind of Red Bull person in? Where it was like, even though we had Cody at right back, we had Luke at right back, but do you feel like it's like
I still think we needed a right back. I still think we need a right back. Like, I know we signed Ayling on for another year, and we've got Drama potentially coming back, or he is coming back, and whether he stays, I don't know. I don't think that the fact that Christensen hasn't been the answer means that we then don't need a right back. I still think we need a right back. I just think it's been the wrong choice. But yeah, maybe it's a Red Bull thing, and they were going down that kind of route, and that's the route that they wanted to go down. But yeah, at the moment it isn't working out. But I did say the same for Junior Firpo last year. Junior Firpo for me is one of the his performances last season were some of the worst I've ever seen in a Premier League shirt. And I take it back to the relegated team that had some absolute stinkers. He was extremely poor last year. He resembled nothing that looked like a defender. But maybe it was just not right in the way that Bielsa was going and the issues that he was having, and then it wasn't right in Jesse Marsch's system. But the last 3 or 4 weeks, he's looked confident, he's looked composed, he looks like he wants to dictate, which I'm really impressed to see. And when foreign players come over to the Premier League, it can take them time. And they're coming into a situation like Junior Firpo had last year. Maybe it was unfair to expect him to be hit the ground running. You're in a heavy side that in a side that heavily dominates play in Barcelona. He's never going to get exposed defensively, really. And before that, he played as left wing back, really, in a 5-back for Betis. He was never expected to do any defensive work in that team. So, maybe we were too harsh on him. I don't know. I don't know what that means for Rasmus long term.
It'd be great if he could have a similar redemption. I'll be up for it. Yeah, absolutely. Just before we move on, then, anything else you want to cover off on the Fulham game last night, Jason? Final thoughts?
Just ultimate disappointment. Like, I don't buy into the, thank God it's out of way, we can concentrate on the league. I think given the position that we're in, it's nice to have a good distraction. It'd have been really, really nice to continue the run into a quarter-final and something to be look forward to. Like, I actually looked forward to watching the game yesterday instead of thinking, oh, God, I really hope we win this game. Like, it's so important that we win this game. It was nice to actually just enjoy a game of football for Leeds United, like we could do in the first season, or like, teams can do that maybe mid-table or challenging for things. Right now, I don't know about you, but I don't enjoy watching any game because I'm dreading the potential of us losing. So yeah, I thought it was a really big missed opportunity. So many chances that we could have taken. Even with 10 minutes to go, we were still missing gilt-edged chances to get ourselves back in the game, which would then potentially could have seen us get back into the game, snatch a draw. I thought the fans were insane last night. And I mean, we always are, but 6,000 plus, in London on a Tuesday, they were so loud. It was untrue. But yeah, ultimately, we didn't take anything out of it. But positives. There was positives in the performance.
Yeah, big time.
That's what I want to hold on to going into games.
I think you summed it up nicely on one of your tweets, saying about, yes, on paper you could say, well, we played well, but we've lost again, like we did many times under Jesse Marsch. Look at the Aston Villa game, blah, 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 Forest first half. But it was different.
It was nothing like a Jesse Marsch loss.
Yeah. No, it was totally different. Good stuff. Okay, if you could like the video, guys, if you're watching, that would be much appreciated. Please subscribe as well for more Leeds content and content around West Yorkshire as well. Okay, so we're going to look at the positive now. Southampton win. Thank goodness. Hallelujah. Jason, I mean,
it was a hard watch, mate.
How tense was that game?
It was awful, to be honest. It was awful. The performance yesterday were miles better than the performance on Saturday, against a team that are miles better than Southampton as well. The performance was, rocky, but it was enough to control a game against a really poor side. And we did control the game. We limited Southampton next to nothing. We didn't create much ourselves either. I will say that. But yeah, it was nervy. You could feel it, from the fans. I did not enjoy particularly watching the game. But Javi Gracia won us a game for me.
Yeah.
A brave change when the game could have easily petered out into a 0-0 draw. Made a big brave change to take Nonto off, who wasn't happy, and in my opinion needs to just curb his enthusiasm a little bit when it comes to his reactions when he's come off, because he did the same thing yesterday that he did on Saturday. Shaking his head, looking at the bench. I don't like that, to be honest.
No.
Especially from a young lad. But I get its enthusiasm. I understand it. But he was right on Saturday. Was Gracia? They were doubling up on him. They took him off, switched the wings, put Somerville on the right and Harrison on the left, and went more out and out wide, and it led to the goal. And fancy a manager making a change in a game to change a result. That's what we've been asking for all season. So yeah, he earned his money straight away.
Yeah, I mean, it was just so refreshing, wasn't it, to have that happen? And the fact that, you obviously could see people, why is he taking Nonto off? Being our best player, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But, that's what you want. You want a brave manager. It's like when it wasn't working for Nonto against Nottingham Forest, and he was on for the whole entire game, and it was just clearly not going to work. It just was not going to work.
Just hoping for the best, isn't it? Yeah, he's been good recently. Fingers crossed he'll come up with something in a minute. Like, that's not management. That's not any sort of tactical kind of ability of any sort to try and change a game. That's not what the manager's there for.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that league table looks a hell of a lot healthier now.
It was a bit nice, wasn't it? They did.
Yeah, I mean, results went for us. I know, West Ham won big, but they did beat Nottingham Forest, which, I hope Forest can get dragged back into it, because, every time I've seen them, they look terrible.
Everton Forest on Saturday.
I mean, it's just they can't both win. They can't both win, which is great. But yeah, that league table looking, so much healthier now, and it was just like a weightlifter, wasn't it, when we got that win?
It's huge. It's huge. I mean, mathematically, obviously, we wouldn't have been down if we'd have not won the game at the weekend. But how long do you go searching for that win? And then every game, the confidence drops more. I think it was vital that Gracia gets the win in his first game. Given everything, and as much as I'm disappointed about yesterday, we can forget it. It's separate competition. We can park it. The positives will take them onto the game at the weekend. So yeah, it was an absolute must win for me, a must win, and we did. We won the game against a team that had gone to Chelsea away and won the week before. So, but they're poor. I mean, for me, they're down. They are down. They're so poor. That lad, I forget his name now, that we're playing up front. I don't know if you watch again, because I know you were away at the weekend.
Yeah.
But they were playing the lad that they signed from Genk. He's called Dave. They call him Dave, apparently, because he's got one of them names that just nobody can pronounce. But he reminded me of Kyle Hudlin, who was at Solihull Moors last year, 6'9" striker, who Huddersfield signed, and then they sent him back out on loan to Wimbledon. I think it was this season. Just a numb 6'9" striker that can win flick-ons. He was so bad, and they'd spent 18 million quid on him as well, by the way. Right? He was so limited, it was untrue, and that's who they're hoping is going to save their season. So yeah, he was poor. So as bad as it is for us right now, it could be a lot worse. It could be a lot worse.
Absolutely. And we dominated and controlled the game against Southampton. We looked more structured and solid in defence, and Javi got the subs correct. We just need to be more clinical, but that's the story of the season. Yes, it is definitely indeed, Andy. But in terms of a start for Gracia then at Leeds, how impressed have you been with how he's come in and gone about his business so far?
I think given the time that he's had, how little time, I mean, what has he been in charge? A week and we've had 2 games
Yeah,
and next to no training.
Yeah.
If you think about when he could actually get on the grass, because he couldn't get on the grass until Friday. Now, I mean, he must have probably had conversations with Scoobs and said, look, this is how I want you to take training and all the rest of it. That'll have gone on. But legally, he weren't allowed on the grass until Friday. I think it's been a sensational job, and I think he's got a real good backing from the fans. I think the reports that have come from, Troy Deeney, Ben Foster, Watford fans, bet your bottom dollar that makes a difference to the players. They'll have seen all that as well. And I think you can instantly see that he has imparted what he wants for the rest of the season. And, it shows that players are capable of changing. They've played football for a long time. They've played under several managers in all of their careers. The new players that have come in have only played under Jesse Marsch either for maybe a season period previously or not at all. They are still able to adapt and cater their style and the way that they tactically impose themselves in a game at the drop of an instruction. It'll almost be easier for them to let go of some of the ridiculous stuff that we tried to do under Jesse Marsch for something more basic. We all know how to play football. Even the most basic of footballers know 4-4-2, defensive structure, do this. We lose the ball, we drop back. We get the ball, we do this. They understand the basics. And Grassi, I think, will short-term try and just make it a bit more simple. Don't fill the players with too many instructions. Keep them in positions. Let the attacking players do attacking duties. Let the defensive players do defensive duties. Sometimes that's all players need. I think that's what Sean Dyche did in the first week against Arsenal. Don't overcomplicate matters.
What do you think they've done with that list that was in the dressing room? Marsh's kind of,
set it on fire.
Yeah, I reckon, fish and chip paper or something now, possibly. I don't know.
Probably.
But, the width thing is the width thing. I mean, I know it was a huge consternation, wasn't it, for a long time? This lack of width, and it was that kind of elephant in the room. You thought, well, as good as we play, it's just we're so narrow. It's driving everybody mad, and it's just such a relief to see.
I understand the ethos around it, Browne. I understand what Jesse Marsch or the Red Bull system means in that the goal is in the center of the pitch. I get it, but that's not real life. It's like trying to work out maths without more complex maths when you're trying to do science or something like that. I don't know where I'm going with that, but that's what it's like. It's like sometimes you need to, stretch the pitch to open up space in that area of the pitch where you do score goals, which is central. Like if you just funnel everything down narrow, the better players and the better teams are going to be able to deal with that. And that's why we always looked quite comfortable against teams that were poorer than us technically. I've said this before, and struggled against teams that, had more technical players to pick us apart. We had moments in a lot of games where, we looked okay in Jesse Marsch's system, but it took nothing to pick it apart because it was just so frantic and so open and so narrow. Yeah. So overall, I'm really happy with Grassi's start. Like I know we went round the houses to get there, with what the board did and all the rest, and we need to move on from that for now. We can pick the bones out of that at the end of the season when we realise whether we got away with it or not. But yeah, I am happy with. I'm happy with how he conducts himself. I'm happy with how he's interviewed. I'm happy with the. He seems relaxed. He seems composed, but understands the severity of what's in front of him. I think overall the picture looks as strong as I think we could have hoped for, because the facts are we weren't going to get a perfect option in February in the position that we were in. We weren't.
No, and part of me is kind of glad. I know, obviously, we were linked with, our kind of number 1 and 2 choice. It was like Gallardo and another high pressing maniac. Like you've got these kind of high pressing maniacs were kind of top of the list. I'm kind of a little bit relieved in a way that we've got this kind of coach and who's going, okay, we'll just drop back. We won't be crazy pressing, and we'll just give ourselves a chance to not get thumped. I'm kind of it almost feels like, and if he pulls it off and if we stay up, wow, really, because, before he came in, I thought we were dead and buried.
Oh, we were. If we'd have kept Skubala in charge, we'd have gone down, and we'd have gone down with a whimper. We'd have probably picked up a couple of results here and there. We may even have won at the weekend, but we'd have gone down. We would have gone down. I'm still, not convinced that we'll survive because we've not got a clinical goal scorer. I think Rodrigo coming back will be huge. And I can't believe I'm saying that. Like I said a couple of weeks ago that we should be able to, deal with the loss of Rodrigo, and we should. But again, I think we have him in the team last night. I think we'll probably end up scoring 2 goals. So, I still think we're in real trouble for some of the back story stuff, but behind the scenes stuff, sorry, should I say. But I think Gracia gives us the best chance that we're gonna have. And we've got to start scoring goals and taking points. And thankfully there's teams in and around us down there that are equally as struggling for X, Y, and Z reason.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at Everton, and I know they got that bounce under Dyche and they beat us, but that wasn't that hard that day, was it, the way we were playing? But looking at their reaction as well, like on Toffee TV, it was interesting. I was watching their video about their reaction to that game, and they're flat. They're flat as a pint. They were flat. Yeah. The atmosphere in the crowd was flat. And it's almost that thing of like, you haven't got a competent striker when Calvert-Lewin's out.
No.
And it's almost like that knowledge. It's like, oh. Whereas with us, with Leeds, you feel like there are the options there. We've even got Sinisterra who'll be coming back hopefully sometime. I don't know how long he's out for. You've got Rodrigo around the corner.
Yeah.
And then you've got on the talent pitch, got Somerville and on. So it feels like there's something there we can
There's options.
Work with. It's just like we said, it's that composure, isn't it?
Yeah. Now, I think Everton are still banging trouble. I do.
Yeah.
I think Leicester are right in trouble as well.
Yeah, I mean, losing to Blackburn, and they look
really poor.
Where Rodgers talks about them as well, like he comes out, he says, "Yeah, this is worrying." You're like, okay, is he trying to get sacked to get some comp? I'm like, man, he just sounds like he can't be bothered anymore.
I had a conversation with a friend about it when they were in that terrible run, and it was like he was talking himself into getting sacked. It's not a big deal. It was like he wanted to get sacked, and I still think that they kind of almost fluked a few results. Maddison were in a bit of a good form, and they kind of saved him and saved their season a little bit, but they're not out of it. I think they're only 5 points in front of us, something like that. So, yeah, I still think there's a lot of twists and turns to come, and I've got to hope we can dig ourselves out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree, Gracia, very calm and composed and conducts himself very well. He does not give things away at his press conference, and he adapts different tactics to who we are playing. He will keep us up. Love it, Andy. I agree with that.
And he's not living in the moment.
Oh, clarity
and he's looking for clarity
and all that. And nothing against Mash. I think he's an absolute brilliant bloke. But yeah, it was just not happening, was it? Now, one of the big talking points from last night that's come out, and some debate that's kind of growing, I think, especially with his recent performances. But it's Rutter or Bamford going forward. Now, for me, I did run a poll last night about this on Twitter as well, and it was overwhelmingly in favour of Rutter being the starting centre forward going forward, whilst Rodrigo's out, and I mean, he's got to get back to match fitness as Rodrigo. You forget it's not just they come back and they're in, are they? And get going.
It were a bad injury too.
Bad injury as well. So Rutter or Bamford going forward. I mean, first of all, if you can just reflect on Rutter's last couple of performances as well, because he made a difference against Southampton. I couldn't believe what Alan Shearer was saying about Rutter last night. I just thought that's so harsh. I thought he was, okay, a couple of times the ball gets away from him, or he's not quite composed. We know he's not a particular finisher, is he? Although that header was incredible, just an incredible. But for me, what he gives you, the pace, can beat a man. He was one of the few that got the final pass right when he put Nonto through. I mean, where do you stand on Rutter, and who gets in, Rutter or Bamford, in your opinion?
Just to touch on Shearer, first off, they don't watch the games, do they? That's the thing. They talk about the one game on Match of the Day or whatever, or they'll co-com on one game, and they talked about Bamford as if he'd been banging goals in for the last 2 years. Like, Bamford's not scored goals consistently now for 18 months, 2 years nearly. So yeah, no, I don't buy it into any of the blurb that you hear from time to time. But Rutter's funny because you mentioned about putting the poll out there, and I've seen loads of clamour for it, and I'm pretty sure that I would say 80% of people will say start Jorginho over Bamford at the weekend. 2 weeks ago, people were saying, why have we even signed this guy? Like, he's not good enough. Like, it just shows you how fickle football fans can be. And people love to flip-flop. Like, I really try and stay in my lane with it. And I said with Jorginho, you can see that there's potential there. I don't think he was a player that we should have signed in January. I think I've built that opinion over the fact that he's not been ready to start games regularly. I'm really glad that he's with us and that we've got that potential for down the line. You can see bags of potential. That don't mean that he's the right number 9 to replace Patrick Bamford or compete with Patrick Bamford. That being said, I said to you last week that Bamford's injuries are plaguing him. He has not got the mental confidence in his body to move and adjust and adapt in the ways that he did 2-3 years ago. He just hasn't got it in him. He's constantly, I think, fearful that he's going to get injured. In every move that he makes, when he steps back and he's not prepared to put the weight on his back foot in a certain way, it's all little mental things that he can't get over. And I don't think we'll ever see the same Patrick Bamford back ever again. I don't. I think he has now limitations in his body that mean that he can't compete against Premier League defenders in the same way that he could do 2 and 3 years ago. For me, I think it's a no-brainer that we start Jorginho. I don't think that he is, like I said, the long-term answer as a 9. I think he's going to end up playing as a 7, cutting in onto his left foot. I think that's probably where he'll be best. But you saw yesterday enough to say that he can hold the ball up. He looks good in the air. He's quick. I agree with you. The pass that he found Nonto with was well placed because that's easy to overhit. Is that he got it right? The decision as well to get it right. I was a bit annoyed that Weston McKennie won bolting down the right hand side past him, and if you watch it back, he kind of saunters there as Weston. I'm a little bit annoyed by that, but anyway, he finds a pass. He's unfortunate not to get a goal in the one that were disallowed. He's unfortunate not to get a goal in the header because that was a great header. Like, he's stretching backwards and he has to bring it back the other way.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, fantastic.
Stretching all the way back, incredible.
The moment where he got the ball out of his feet in the second half, he did really well in all the build-up just to finish. He scuffs it a little bit. You know, if he's fully confident and fully at it, maybe scores that. So yeah, for me, he has to start at the weekend. And I think,
were you surprised he came off, actually? Were you surprised that he actually got subbed? Because I mean, I don't really think Bamford did much apart from get a few offside calls, really, when he came off.
Thought he'd have brought Bamford on and left Rutter on. I don't know, taking off who, I don't know, but I thought he'd have maybe gone more with the 2 up front. I can understand wanting to get Bamford minutes. You know, 2-0 down, game's maybe going away from you anyway, to give Pat 25 minutes to try and find a goal, find confidence, you know, move the defenders around differently. I can understand it. I think at the time, the game was kind of going away from us. The second goal really killed us. Before that, you know, Jorginho looked like he could score every time he got on the ball, and Leeds looked like they should score. And, you know, we were still, you know, a real threat. I can understand it. While maybe not, I wouldn't have done it myself. I can understand it.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, let us know in the chat, what do you think, Rutter or Bamford going forward? It's interesting what you say about Bamford as well, because it was almost like an added bonus when he came back to this full fitness, because it kind of caught everyone off guard. He'd been in and out of the team, and it didn't look like he was going to get fully fit. And then, you know, typical Rodrigo gets injured as soon as we've got Bamford back. And you do worry, you do think, where is this heading for Bamford? I mean, could you see a summer exit for Bamford if we stay up?
Problem is who's going to want to take him on the wages that he's on? That's the problem, because does he get into any other Premier League team? Probably not. No. Does he suit an abroad move? Probably not. So then he's left with maybe top end Championship, but they're not going to pay him 50 grand a week.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I see an exit for him as a really difficult one. I think he's got another 3 years left on his deal. I could see him being here as long as his deal allows him to, while they pay him off. It's going to take somebody brave to kind of come in and say, look, lad, really sorry, but, you know, you know, it saddens me because I really like him, actually. And I've been a massive supporter of Bamford over the years, defended him when he was getting nailed in the Championship. And he did miss a lot of chances, but he also scored a lot of important goals. And in the Championship, he his movement was so intelligent that defenders couldn't deal with him. It's a different level. In season 1 of the Premier League, he obviously did what he did. Fans not there, riding the crest of a wave and all the rest of it. And he showed real composure that he'd not shown for the rest of his career, really. He's never been a prolific goal scorer and part. But then these injuries have kind of taken that edge away from him, taken the confidence away from him that he did build up to get himself an England cap. And like I said to you the other week, I've come back from serious injuries, and it changes the way that you feel on a pitch. You constantly carry that knowledge that your body's broken down on you. We've seen it with other players over the years. Gascoigne's a fantastic example of it, and I know he had other issues off the pitch, but Paul Gascoigne was never the same after coming back from that knee injury. And sure, operation surgeons have got better, and the way that players have been able to come back has improved.
Remember Falcao? Do you remember Falcao? It was unreal.
Yeah,
absolutely unreal. He was like the best striker in the world for a period of time at Atletico, and then he got that really bad. I don't know if he broke his leg or cruciate ligament, but he got a really serious injury. And then when he came back, he just totally a shadow. He's really
particularly prominent in strikers because confidence is such a massive element of their game. You can't mask it. You're not scoring goals. You can't hide that. For a centre midfielder that gets that kind of injury, they just have to they have to look after a different area of the game. The spotlight's not on them the same. So any sort of attacking player that goes through a really bad injury, it takes some real, mental strength to overcome that hurdle and come back and reinvent yourself. I mean, Ibrahimovic did his ACL at about 38, 39-year-old. And the fact that he came back and still performed at the very top level blows my mind. Like, it absolutely blows my mind. But he's a freak. The guy's an absolute freak. He's a one of a kind. You don't find players like that. So we could talk about players like this that like Falcao that have come across injuries like that for all night, because it's a very, very real thing, and that's what's happened to Pat. I do feel sorry for him. I do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well what you say about in the head as well, because you look at when he came on against Cardiff and 2 beautiful finishes.
Yep.
You think where's that composure when you're in the Premier League? Where's that composure? And it must be just this mental block.
It's the level, isn't it? It's the level of the defenders that you're playing against. So
it's got to be lovely, good stuff. Okay, let's see Andy Rutter for me, and he's getting better with more minutes and fitness. He will be more of a wide player as he develops. So I think that's spot on there.
I cannot believe some of the fans that were ruling him out after less than 90 minutes.
Oh my god!
I mean, it's just the way
blows my mind.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's just fans.
Horrible. That was one of the worst takes when I saw that about Rutter getting written off already. I just could not believe it.
I don't understand what some fans look at. I don't understand what they're watching. Like, they're clearly not watching what's happening. They're seeing a £35 million striker not score or not assist. That's it. It's as simple as watching the football on teletext. Like, they might as well not watch it. It honestly blows my mind. Like, you could see from his first few minutes that he had a raw potential.
Yeah.
Now, that don't mean that he's worth 35 million quid, but that's football. It's not his fault that he was bought for that amount of money. So for me, I think he'll be a real find. I do. I think he'll be a real player. Yeah,
absolutely. So going forward, then we're going to have a look at the Chelsea game, which is up next. Traditionally, an incredibly hard fixture. Last year we had that thrilling game, didn't we, at the Bridge where
we deserve some of that.
And we do, they had such a dodgy penalty from that flop who just jumped on the floor and won.
Click was fantastic that day.
Yeah. Gellert
awesome.
Scored, didn't he, as well? Gellert. Yeah. And
was that under Bielsa?
Under Bielsa, yeah.
It
was a real Bielsa ball performance as well. We should have won that game. We really should have. 12 months later, and you're looking at it and can't think of a better time to play Chelsea, really. I mean, they're keeping Potter, which is, I didn't think was going to happen with some of the results. I mean, they lost to Southampton. They've lost to Tottenham last week. They've lost the first leg against Dortmund. If they can just still be terrible for the game at the weekend, please. I mean, what do you think? I mean, is this a good time to play him, or is it, the old rival might stir them up, might stir the beast a bit playing?
I definitely think it's a good time to play him. And, for Leeds, we love being the team that makes everything okay for someone else.
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm worried about. Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. Yeah,
I'm sure it could be the catalyst for Potter as much as it could be the end of him. But I definitely think, you know, I don't know how much goes on, you know, in the dressing room for players. I don't know how happy they are with Potter as manager. You know, a loss to Leeds after a loss to Southampton, a loss to Dortmund, and a loss to Spurs would probably see him off. I don't know if the board could ignore fan pressure after another loss. So I hope so. I don't care about Chelsea. I don't want to take 3 points. So yeah, I hope that it continues. I think it's a game that we have to be targeting points in.
Yeah.
Given the landscape, given where we're at, given their form, they're 10th in the league. You know, they're not, you know, they've got striker issues of their own. They're not scoring goals. No Thiago Silva, which I think is a big miss for them. I still think at 38, 39, whatever he is their best centre-back. I think we can go there with confidence that we can take something out of the game, and I'd snap your hands off with a point. But we could go there and get 3 points. We definitely could. We've got the, I think, potential to do that, riding a little bit of a more positive wave under Gracia and given where they are. Yeah. My prediction, I'm going to say 0-0. 0-0. And I'd take it.
I would take that. I would absolutely take a prediction. Andy saying, great time to play them, set up right and frustrate them, but a game must take chances. 2-1 Leeds. I would love it. I would absolutely love
Snap
it.
Your hands up. Oh, my word.
What do you think he's going to do with the team? Do we see that midfield three again, Rocky, McKennie, Adams, or do you think he's going to be tempted to maybe bring Aronson in or even Harrison as well? How do you think he'll go about that? I think he sees Harrison as a winger, doesn't he? Out and out.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I don't think I think the experiment of Harrison at 10 is over, isn't it?
I think it's a real tricky one. I think he will set them up to play against Chelsea rather than for Leeds to impose their style. I think he will try and cater around what he thinks is going to work for the opponent, which we've not really had under Bielsa or Jesse Marsch. Bielsa was the same. It was, this is the way that we're playing. We'll make that work. So I think he will set it up. I'm not sure of Chelsea's availability in terms of players. I'm not sure. I think Kante has been injured a lot recently. I don't know who's going to play in that midfield. I would probably suspect that he'll go with the same three. That'd be if I had to bet on it, I'd probably say that it'll go 4-3-3. It'll be similar to how we set up last night. Verber will come back in. Ayling will go to right back. The same back line, same midfield. And then I probably think it'll be the same front three. I think he will go with Jorginho. I think.
Yeah.
I can understand the temptation for the experience of Bamford against Chelsea. I can understand it. But I think, given what he saw yesterday, I hope that he will deal with it on a meritocracy and give it to Jorginho, because he had a good performance yesterday. He had everything apart from the goal. So I think it'll be pretty much as you were yesterday. Maybe Harrison will come in for Somerville and we might see Nonto go to the right, maybe. And they could switch. You know, you can play inverted for a little bit. You can play wide for a bit.
Do we need to do something with Nonto just to kind of, because it feels like it's tailed off and it feels like he's, you know...
Maybe he comes out, yeah. Maybe
I'm just wondering, you know, because he's been kind of marked out the games, hasn't he, the last two
I wouldn't be against that. I wouldn't be against it. I mean, managers are paid to make big decisions and make brave decisions, as we said with the sub. I wouldn't be against it. You know, if he doesn't start the game and, you know, he's got a point to prove then coming on, he comes on at a period of the game where we may be able to snatch a point or snatch 3 points or whatever, I think that'd be great management. You know, you live and die by them kind of decisions. You know, I saw you tweet about Somerville yesterday and I thought to myself, it's funny because me and you usually agree on pretty much everything.
Yeah.
I'm not a massive Somerville fan. I'll be honest with you. I'm not.
What?
I'll be honest with you. I'm not.
Jason's last appearance on the room.
I'm not fully sold. I'm not. I've seen good moments.
Yeah.
You know, there were a moment yesterday and I was so frustrated with Jorginho because he should have been up there with Somerville. And he managed to cut it back and there was nobody there. But I think I don't know. He's young and there's plenty of time on his hands. I just don't know whether he's the answer right now. Like, for me, if Sinistera were fit, Somerville would be hardcore on the bench. It'd be Sinistera, Nonto, or maybe Harrison. I'd have a bit, you know how I feel about.
Do you know what I think with Somerville? See, for me, when I watch Somerville, I just think it's just bustling with creativity, and I actually think that, do you know when he got on that really purple patch of scoring. He scored against Bournemouth.
Yeah.
He scored against Liverpool, the winner. He scored against a couple of the Tottenham as well. And then he got injured.
Yeah.
And he was on that real purple patch of scoring. And I thought, actually, he was one of the few that looked like a good finisher in the squad. And it seems to have deserted him a little bit since he came back from the injury.
When I analyse a player, I analyse everything. And I think what you've just mentioned there is something that I kind of, it means a lot to me. He looks for a way out. And I don't like it. He did it yesterday. Like, he took a little knock, and I know he's slight, but he's injury prone, or he certainly seems to be out of the team through injuries a lot. He gets no consistency together. And yesterday I felt like that. Like, he took a knock. Jack Harrison's warming up after 10 minutes, and he manages to run it off. But that worries me. He has periods of the game where he goes missing. I'm not so sure what he brings sometimes in the build-up. Wingers are sometimes like that. You can't have it all ways sometimes. Like, I think when he gets on the ball, and I think his speed is really, really good. I mean, I saw him a lot in the under-23s, and he were unplayable at times. Like, he has got some real raw ability. I'm not saying I think he's a bad player. Like, I would probably play him ahead of Jack Harrison right now.
It's a real shame we've not got Sinisterra, though, isn't it? Where you've got that slightly older head, someone who's, and you could rotate between Nonto and Somerville and Harrison. It's such a shame that he's injured.
That's the thing. We shouldn't be having to rely so much on Somerville or Nonto right now, or even Jorginho. We shouldn't be having to rely so much on them to deliver for 90 minutes, because they're young kids. You don't find many 18, 19, 20-year-olds that are ready to play 38 games, 90 minutes a game in the Premier League. It almost doesn't exist. They're not Wayne Rooney. They're not Steven Gerrard. Like, some of these players that burst onto the scene that are then primed to play every single game at 19-year-old. You don't find that very often. So, I'm not being overly critical when I say I'm not fully sold on Somerville yet. I just don't buy into the narrative yet that he has to play every 90 minutes. That's not. Yeah. I'm just not there with him yet. That's not a slight on him. It's honestly not.
Fair enough. We'll let you off for that. Me and Tom. Tom's backing me up here.
Sorry, Tom. Sorry.
Somerville is brilliant, Tom. Thank you very much for your comment, mate. There's a couple of other comments to get through from Tom as well. He says, should he give one or two of the youngsters now Perkins, Joseph? Do you mean to actually start, Tom, or you mean just off the bench? I mean, I'd love to see Perkins get a bit more time, actually. I don't know about you, Jason.
Perkins is a real natural finisher. Like, I saw him a few times for West Ham under-23. He's just a natural goal scorer. Finds himself in and around 6-yard box, finishing off chances. If we were in a better position, I reckon we'd have seen a lot more of him, because we'd have been able to give him minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes here and whatnot. He certainly didn't come to Leeds to not play. That was his problem at West Ham, that he didn't see a route to the first team. So, I definitely think we'd have seen more of him. I've not seen enough of Joseph. I've not watched a lot of the 23s this year, to be honest. I watched a lot last season and the season before. I've not seen a massive amount of him over the last 6 months and whatnot. But I know he's got potential. I just don't think it's the right time. It always seems like the go-to answer for fans that, throw the kids in. They can't do any worse than what they do. It can make and break young lads to throw them in at the wrong time. And, people were saying the same about McCarran and McKinstry and Nolan Kenny, and the list goes on, and look at where they all are. That's no disrespect.
Brutal, isn't it?
Playing professional football at any level is serious talent. But the difference between Premier League and League Two it's monumental. Alfie McCalmont were another one. He's playing League Two football, or is he in League One? I can't remember. But last season he were at Salford, wasn't he? Were it Salford? I think it was Salford.
Yeah, there was one of them, wasn't there, at Salford? I know, for a little bit of time. I know
Leif Davis. Leif Davis were another one. Yeah. People were saying, is he the left back option? Give him a chance. Like, he struggled in the Championship. He barely played behind Zamora. He played 8 games or something as they got promoted. He ended up getting sold permanently to League One. Like, fans just see the name, doing all right at under-23, throw him in. No, it's dangerous. It's a dangerous ground.
Absolutely. Tom, to be fair to Nonto, he was being professionally fouled by Fulham players last night. Yeah, absolutely.
I agree with that.
Needs more protection, doesn't he? Come on, ref, step up and give him some protection. He's getting kicked all over the place.
Yeah.
And Tom, finally, I'm thinking 2 up front, Rutter with Perkins. Well, you never know, do you? We could get a tactical surprise sprung on us.
I'd be very shocked to see that against Chelsea on Saturday. Let's put it that way.
Just quickly before we wrap up, guys, get your predictions in. What do you think? Leeds Chelsea on Saturday. We're never going to have a better chance, are we? I've been looking at the other games, Jason, around us, and it's tasty. Like you say, there's the Everton Forest one.
Yeah.
Both can't win. Southampton, they've got a tricky one as well. So they're playing Leicester. So it's another 1-2 teams
6 points
down there. Bournemouth playing Arsenal away. Come on. Let's not have any upsets.
Opportunity for us, isn't it? Opportunity for us.
Well, it is. And I mean, even West Ham have got a tough game against Brighton. The only one I've not checked.
Everton have got Arsenal tonight, by the way.
Oh, they have, haven't they? Oh.
Away.
Do you know what? It would just be it'd be fantastic if Arsenal won that. Oh, Wolves are playing as well. Wolves are playing.
Yeah, Wolves have got Liverpool, haven't they? I tell you, Bournemouth are funny because if they went down the Skabala route, and Gary O'Neill's probably got a little bit more to his locker than Skabala. But I think if they had a proper manager, I think they'd be fine. I think they've got some real talent. I think they've got some real players in that setup, especially going forward. Yeah.
But they chased Bielsa. You thought, they're going to get a real... Yeah. And then they just went, oh, no, forget it.
Yeah, forget it. We'll have Gary.
We'll just go with Gary. It'll be fine.
So, yeah, they're a funny one. But, thank God that the teams in and around us are having as much trouble as us. Do you still think we go down? What do you think?
Do you know what? It's horrible. It's horrible because last week before Gracia came in, I was like, I think we might be down. And then he comes in, we beat Southampton. You think, actually, there's something there. And then, I don't know, you look how lack of composure, that kind of thing, you just worry that we're just going to be that team that, we just kind of miss our way to relegation. But I hope not. I think once Gracia can get his ideas into the attacking style as well, hopefully we can get out of it. What about you? Because you were pretty kind of...
Oh, pretty much.
Down. Yeah, you were like that. I mean, get my season ticket for the championship here.
I've softened, given what I've seen, and I knew Gracia had certainly capabilities and ability that we're going to bring to the role. I didn't think he was as washed up as some people were starting making about that. Again, they just don't know. They're just ignorant to the facts, I guess. But if I still had to put my house on it, I would still say that we're probably going to end up being one of the 3 worst, which makes me... I hope I'm wrong. I really, really hope I'm wrong. But I do have a confidence that we can. It's just getting them points. And I think it's just because we've missed getting points in so many winnable games. And I said to you the other week about the Everton result. If we get to the end of the season, we go down by less than 3 points to Everton, we'll look at that and we'll think we've seen from Gracia for these 2 games and how he changed the team and the performance against Southampton. What could he have done at Goodison Park, given how shocking they were? Because they were so bad that day. They were there for the taking, and we passed that up to lose 1-0 and not even have a shot on target, Brownie, and give Skabala it for nothing. We'd been talking to Gracia 2 weeks before. So
that's the frustrating thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. And I think I could be. I think there's a chance.
Yeah.
You're telling me there's a chance? You know what I mean? But that's where I'm at. I really hope I'm wrong. I really, really hope I'm wrong.
No, same. And hopefully, 3 points against Chelsea, I would love it. Because Chelsea are in my top 2 or 3 teams that I hate the most.
Yeah,
certainly. I can't stand them. So come on, Leeds, let's get the 3 points at the weekend. Well, thanks a lot, everybody, for watching. If you've been watching live, thank you so much for joining us. Please do give us a like and a subscribe. If you're watching this recorded, watching this later, please also pop us a like on as well. Jason, pleasure as always, mate. Thank you so much for joining me. And we'll be back next week. I've been Stephen Browne. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.